Our next speaker came from a small town in Texas. 2 years ago, he was pretty much had sold zero real estate, had nothing going on. He walked up to me at an event just like this, says, "You don't know me, but my name is boom, 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 and I'm going to go build a YouTube channel." And he said, "And I'm going to do some great things. I'll let you know a year from now how it's going." Well, that was 2 years ago. He has sold millions of dollars worth of real estate in commissions since then. In my opinion, he's the most successful real estate YouTuber in North America, both the U.S. and Canada. He's a famous guy today. He's been on every show, every podcast, he's a big deal. And I knew him when he was nobody. But he's the most humble, amazing. I'm proud to call him a friend. He's from somewhere in a small town in Texas. I don't know the name of the town, but help me welcome Levi Lascsak, everyone. Woo! Get up here, man. Get him.
All right, thank you so much, Brent. I think I got John-sized microphone, so if you can't hear me, it's probably clogged up a little bit with that. No, John, that was amazing. So yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that introduction. So, here's the deal. Passive prospecting, this is what we like to talk about. We hear a lot about active prospecting, but we like to attract. And if you think about attraction, the definition of that is to attract. First of all, I always give a shout out to my business partner, Travis Plumb. He's been very instrumental in the business. Thank you, yeah. He's there. He's definitely in the beachwear there in the back, so he's relaxing back there. He's good to go. So as Brent said, here's the deal. We were brand new agents, okay? In 2020, we sold 0 homes, and in Q1 of 2021, we sold 0 homes, all right? We released the first YouTube video on December 5th of 2020. Now, here's what happened. It took about 90 days to get that first deal under contract, but we closed our first 2 transactions ever in April of 2021. Here's what happened the last 9 months of that year. We ended up generating 690 leads from the channel. We closed 64 transactions at a 9.2% conversion. We did $33.5 million in volume and just over $1,007,000 in commissions in our first year in real estate. Thank you. But then you have the compound effect. This is what I love about YouTube. And in 2022, this was just our closed YouTube business. We ended up generating 1,958 leads. We averaged 5.4 inbound leads per day. We closed 156 transactions at 8% conversion. We did $86.1 million in volume and $2.3 million in commissions just from a YouTube channel. And that was all inbound. We never cold called, door knocked, spent a single penny on advertising or postcards. So, anybody know Michael Reese? Say aye. There you go. So I think this is around 2002. What's funny is I actually sold gym memberships with Michael Reese at Bally Total Fitness in the early 2000s. And I remember the weekend that Michael met Jay Kinder at the lake, and he came back to Bally's on a Monday, and he's like, "I'm getting into real estate." And I was like, okay, good luck, you know? I knew Michael was going to be successful, but I wasn't interested in being a real estate agent. And so have you ever charted out your life on a graph? It's very interesting, right? Full of ups and downs, I would assume, probably a lot like mine. So if we kind of go into the little bit of the backstory, I've had some major setbacks before you've seen this success on YouTube. You know, first off was in the military. Kind of like Dylan, I got in 1999. I really just wanted to get some money for college and get out of my small town because I didn't know how to get out of a small town. And country boys typically join the military, right? And so that was in 1999. I thought the world was at peace. Nothing was going to happen. And 2 years later, September 11th happened. And the next thing I know, I'm deployed in Iraq. I was in the infantry. Now, the thing is when you get there, I mean, this is a huge mental challenge, right? Because first of all, you look at that at the top left, you know, we're in a C-130. A C-130 is a cargo plane that ships vehicles and equipment and things like that. It's not really made to ship troops, but that's what they put you in. It's a tin can with no windows. And when you're flying into Baghdad, in our first experience going in there, you fly in at night, and you fly in what they call a corkscrew pattern whenever you land. And you do that so you avoid getting shot out of the sky as you get into country. And that's your first experience going in there. And you have to deal with that. Now, this was in 2005, and you see us in the back of the truck rolling around. I have no idea why we're smiling at all whatsoever, because we didn't have the budget, our unit, to up armor our vehicles a lot of times. So we were out there just exposed doing patrols and rolling around crammed up together, and it wasn't a recipe for success. That third picture at the top right is a sandstorm. That is not edited or doctored in any ways. I took a little selfie on a Fujifilm camera, and that was a 3-day sandstorm. You think you get a little sand in your butt out there on the beach? Try living in a sandstorm for 3 days. I mean, it's very hazardous to your health, and you're digging sand out of places you didn't know you had. Trust me. They're bottom left, working with the Iraqi army. I look at this picture now, and I have no idea why I'm sitting in front of the Iraqi soldier with the magazine in his weapon, because that was the thing. As you train these guys, you heard the stories. They could turn on you in a second. You never know that. You're living in a constant state of anxiety, but you have to get in the right mindset. But the thing is that, even over there, we lost a couple of our team members. And in Iraq, you don't get days off. You don't get time to mourn. You don't get time to feel sorry for yourself. You have to move on. You have to complete the mission. You can't just lay in bed one day and be like, I don't feel like going to work. We work 7 days a week, minimum 15 hours a day, every single day. Now, the thing is that, I came home from Iraq too, and this is where another setback, a huge setback, came into my life, because I came home extremely sick with a digestive disease. And I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and this messed with me on and off for about 8 years until 2013 happened, and then I lost 50 pounds in a single month. And this nearly killed me a second time. You made it through Iraq, and then I go through this. And losing 50 pounds in a single month is absolutely horrendous. It was the worst pain I'd ever felt, agony. Every night I went to bed, I did not think I was going to wake up the next day. For 3 months, I saw 4 different GI doctors. They threw the kitchen sink at me, medication, steroids, IV antibiotics, and I just could not get better. And it was by God's grace, I found a natural doctor, and the natural doctor was like, well, hey, let's just change your diet and put you on some vitamins and see if that works. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And yeah. As you can see, I was 33 years old I'm 43 now, just like John. I think I look a lot better at 43 than I did at 33, right? And now with my Gary Brecka supplements, thank you, Brent, for introducing him to me at Build. My Gary Brecka supplements, I feel even better now than ever. And it's been 10 years, and I haven't even had the flu in the last 10 years. And so this was a point in my life where I realized I had never been anywhere or done anything. I still had that small town country boy mentality. And the thing was that I was like, I need to get out and see the world, And so I went on this tear. The thing is that I had a pharmaceutical job leading up to getting sick. And whenever I got sick, after 90 days, they wanted me to come back to work, but I wasn't physically able to do that. And so I lost that position. So I literally had to start a business in my recovery, to make some money. And I started a financial services business. Well, the cool thing was I got contracts with all of the teachers at Dallas ISD, and so I had a teacher's schedule, but I had 5 times the teacher's income. So this was the point where I was like, well, shoot, I'm going to go travel the world. And I went to 24 countries inside of 3 years, and that was a lot of fun. So now we're on that high, and then guess what? April happens in 2020. Now the thing is, of course, we all know that COVID happened during that time, right? The world shuts down. Travel shuts down. My business shut down because I worked with all the teachers at the schools. So when the school shut down, I wasn't meeting anybody anymore. And so, but the devastating part of this was that I got a phone call from my business partner on April 1st of 2020. Never forget this. And he literally just said, we worked together for the last 5 years building this business. And he literally said, I'm assigning all your commissions to me, and that's it. I'm cutting you off. I'm terminating your licenses with the financial institutions, and I'm basically taking everything from you. And I was like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Over 5 years, I'd acquired 500 clients, built up a significant residual income, never had any violations, nothing wrong with my license, no complaints, nothing, and he just took it overnight. And I was sitting there and I said, that's really not that fair, right? And the funny thing was that these are actual bank statements. What you're going to see here is that morning, because I had so much time on my hand, I started to invest. I wanted to invest in some side businesses. Well, the thing was that if you look at this first wire, that happened on 4/2. The morning before he called me on 4/1, I had literally just wired $40,000 of my own cash to invest in this Amazon store. And he called me that afternoon to tell me he was taking all of my money away. And then look what I did. I doubled down and I invested $25,000, $13,000, $17,000, another $65,000 into these Amazon stores, because when he took my income, I thought, I got to move forward. I got to figure something else. But also what's not on there is I took him to court over Zoom during COVID, during the summer of 2020. But I spent about $20,000 doing that. And the funny thing is that all I wanted to do was just have him deposed. I just wanted him to testify on the record. It wasn't actually like suing somebody, but I thought if I can just get my story out there, then there's no way that he can do this to me. But the judge threw out the case because I didn't understand contracts at the time. And literally in the contract, he had the right to assign all my commissions to himself, all my residuals. And I just wasn't, savvy at the time whenever I read that contract. And so the judge just threw it out, never even got to hear my case. So the funny thing is here comes Michael Reese back into my life. Again, he's been trying to get me into real estate for 20 years. And he knew he was one of the only people I told about this. And here he is trying to get me into real estate. And I was like, I'm just not really interested in becoming an agent. Literally, I was fighting him off again because he wanted me to get involved back in 2002 when he got licensed. And here we are 20 years, almost 18 years later. And I was like, no. So what I did was through April to August was spend all of my money on trying not to become a real estate agent. Literally. And that was all cash, that was all my cash. That was almost pretty much everything I had. And so I was looking for ways, but around August, as I started to run out of money, I started to realize, well, I've got to do something else. I've got to figure something else. And I understood EXP as a business model. And I thought, okay, that agent attraction thing, that looks pretty interesting. But can I do that? I didn't really feel right trying to attract if I had zero production. So I thought, well, maybe, and I know you can do it, but just for me, I was like, maybe I need to produce first, and then I'll have some credibility, and I'll feel a lot better about actually attracting agents to the business. And so that's whenever I started to do some research and try to figure out, okay, if I'm going to sell real estate, how do I do this? Because I was 41 years old at the time, and I was like, how do I start over without starting over? Because I really don't want to cold call and door knock and spend money on ads and try to brand myself and compete with the agents in Dallas, Texas that have been there for the last 15, 20, 25 years. I was like, how am I going to do that? Is there any gap in the market at all whatsoever? And I knew that would be through social media, but I wasn't sure which platform. I wanted to focus on one platform because I didn't want to spread myself thin across 5 different platforms. And so I looked at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. None of them really set well with me. But whenever I discovered YouTube, I was like, oh, YouTube's a search engine. And I think there's an opportunity there. Now, the funny thing was here is that anybody have that pesky pastor that you don't like to tell things to because as soon as you tell them, they send you a whole bunch of text, a bunch of scriptures, right? And you're like, I don't want to cheer up right now. I want to be mad, Well, in September, whenever I started to research YouTube, for real estate, I finally told my pastor what had happened. And he sent me a series of text messages, like always, a bunch of scriptures. And it's funny is because this one in particular, he said, enemy is a thief. Payback is 7 times. People do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy himself, but when he's hungry and when he is found, he must repay 7 times what he stole. Now, at the time, in those first 3 months of Q1 of 2020, I'd made about $100,000 in the first 3 months. So whenever he sent me that text, that's exactly what I was equating it to. I was like, well, I made $100,000. So if I'm going to get repaid 7 times, it's like 7. Didn't really make sense. Didn't add up to me, right? And it's one of those things where you try to just, move on, even though he was giving me good advice. Now, this was an email. Once I started researching and developing the channel, I also had to let it go. This was something that was completely eating at me of what they did to me, and I had to let it go. Now, you're not going to read all of this, so I know some of you are trying to decipher in there, but the point is I want you to see the volume. This was actually probably 5 pages longer than this. I wrote my former business partner 5-page email, basically tactfully telling them how terrible he was and that what he did was completely wrong, but it didn't matter because I was moving on. This was my way to let it go. I wasn't going to pursue any more legal options because my lawyer told me at the time, well, if you really, really want to sue him, give me a $100,000 retainer, and if you lose, you'll probably pay his $100,000 in legal fees as well. And so I just decided to move forward instead of looking back. And I told myself, I'm going to make more money going forward than I am trying to chase all this stuff down. So here's the deal. When I started the channel, you saw December 5th of 2020. What you're looking at now is a 1099 from Texas Workforce Commission. And if you don't know what that is, that's unemployment. Because I had burned through over $200,000 of my own cash, going into not being a real estate agent. Started that channel on December 5th of 2020. By January of 2020 or 2021, I was basically out of money. And the thing is that it's the first time that the government actually approved unemployment for 1099 people, if you remember that, right, during COVID. And so I thought, man, I'm really down to my last dollar, but I believe in this YouTube thing. I think I'm just going to keep working at this, but I don't want to give up because I was really close to quitting even in the beginning within the first couple of months. And I said, you know what, as much as my ego wanted me to not do this, I was like, I need some money, and I didn't want to ask my parents or friends or anybody like that. And so I applied for it. Now, the thing is that you only see $7,600 on there because I only took it for those 90 days. As soon as we got those first 2 deals under contract, I immediately canceled that, and I never looked back from there. And so that's where I was at the bottom, but I didn't quit. And here's the thing, going back to that text message, anybody go to Build in 2021? Anybody catch COVID there like I did? Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Brent. Yep. So August of 2021, Travis and I both caught COVID well, actually, I don't want to say that. Maybe we caught it at Build, all right? I don't want to say that. Maybe we caught it there. But we had been going so hard and so fast since starting the channel, right? From getting those first 2 deals under contract in August, when we both got COVID at the same time, it was the first time that we were actually forced to stop and take a couple of days because we had been working on this channel nonstop. And it literally woke me up in the middle of the night. It just hit me. And I remember that text message that my pastor had sent me that you will be repaid 7 times what was stolen. And I realized we had just hit 700,000 in closed GCI pending business. And here's one little section. I'm going to give you one little section that I wrote in that email. And I said, when I tell my story, I will now reference the fact that my best friend, my brother, and my sister stole all of my income in one phone call. It was the setback before I became the biggest success. I will be speaking on stages, and I will talk about my low points, how I overcame combat in Iraq, a terrible digestive disease that nearly killed me, and my best friends that stole 5 years of my life. However, all those setbacks have led me to the man I am today. That was God testing me to see if I was ready for the biggest success of my life to come. And when I wrote that, I had no idea any of this was going to work. I had no clue. But I didn't want to let him know that, right? I wanted to say, hey, I'm moving on, and it's going to happen. I had no idea any of this was going to work. And when you have this amount of success this quickly, guess what? It gets you on stages. It gets you noticed. And just within less than 2 years in this business, we've now worked with some of the best marketers, the best YouTubers, the best real estate agents on the planet, from Pete Vargas to Sean Cannell and Benji Travis to Ryan Serhan to Giselle to Tom Ferry. I mean, the list goes on and on. We've been so fortunate, and we're making these moves. And here's the irony of this as well, is that at Build of 2021, I sat there in the very back row. Travis and I did. We had the least expensive ticket. We're there in the back, and Jay Kinder was on stage, and he said, the people that tell me they'll be on stage will be the ones on stage. And I posted this on Instagram, August 17th of 2021, and I said, nosebleeds this year, speaking on stage next year, and that's exactly what happened to Build 2022. And that happened because of these events. From Build, Jay said that, and then I booked Cabo. Cabo sells out usually at Build. So if you're not at Build, you're not going to go to Cabo. I go to Cabo, and I see Brent and Gene standing on stage, and they said, hey, tell us if you want to be on stage. That's what he said. And that's what Brent was talking about. He came off a stage, and I said, we should speak at Build. He's like, okay, cool, send me a video. And I was like, oh, I can send you a video. No problem. I got that. I can do that video thing. So now YouTube Secrets, this is the best-selling YouTube book out there. And if you want to understand the fundamentals and principles of YouTube, this is the book to get. They just updated the second edition. And the really cool thing is that Travis and I are in this book. They included our story. And the reason they did that is, thank you. The reason they did that is because they wanted to show people that most YouTubers or market, they get all the notoriety for having the most followers, right? 100,000 or 1 million followers. That's all the people you hear about. But they put us in there when we had 5,000 subscribers because we earned $1 million in commissions. And so they wanted to prove that if you got a high-ticket item like we do in real estate, that you can provide value on a platform like YouTube, take that business offline and turn it into, a multiple seven-figure business just like we have done. But I say that was the best-selling book on YouTube, but next month, when our book comes out, this will be the best-selling book on YouTube. So that comes out on March 7th. On March 7th, this is legit. We're going to have Audible, everything. And yes, Ryan Serhant wrote the foreword for our book on there. And that all came through relationships and opportunities. Thank you to that one person. Oh. And now this is all, this is spilled over into agent attraction. So we didn't even start attracting until just about a year ago after, we did a year about a production and the same way. Everything we've done, through real estate has been organic and zero money on ad spend. But we've also created a separate channel on YouTube for agent attraction. We literally attract agents every single day. And it's turned into, 63 FL. We actually just hit 30 now on FLQAs, in just over a year that we've started on the recruiting side. And that's turning into, 5 figures a month, every month for us, which is nice. And we get emails like this every single day. I would like to see if it'd be possible to set up a time to speak with you about joining EXP with you as my sponsor. And Kurt, Kurt Shewell's here, I believe, and he was with me. We were at the Sprint event, and I said, watch this. I had 3 agent attraction calls. I opened up my laptop, let them join in, and everybody said, how do we make the move? They didn't ask me about EXP because we provide so much value through training agents how to build their own YouTube channels that they are attracted to us, truly attracted to us. So we've done zero outreach on the agent side, and we had no brand. Nobody knew who we were. We weren't Brent Gove. We weren't, Gene Frederick, and we've attracted that many people in there. So I'll end on this. It took 22 years to be an overnight success, but like I said, if you ever chart out your life, it's probably full of ups and downs just like ours. And here's the not-so-secret formula for success: decision, action, repeat. Thank you.